Meet Hilljack Bob, king of the creek, soon to be king of the clouds. You know you're dealing with a different breed when a man's idea of a three-piece suit involves camouflage. That's Hilljack Bob for you. Lived his whole life 20 miles from the nearest paved road. He weren't much for book learning, but he could navigate a John boat through a swamp blindfolded. His mama always said, that boy's got a knack for getting lost and found at the same time. Turns out that's a valuable skill in the airline industry, who knew? Now Bob, he had dreams, big dreams. He'd sit on his porch swing, sip sweet tea, and watch them airplanes streak across the sky. One day he'd say, I'm gonna fly one of them fancy birds. Now folks around town, they'd chuckle. But Bob, he had this look in his eye like a hound dog on a scent. He was serious as a heart attack in a cholesterol clinic. From banjo strums to cockpit dreams, Bob earns his wings, sort of. Now, how a fella like Bob finagled his way into flight school, well, that's a story for another day. Rumor has it, involved a bet, a goat, and a whole mess of moonshine. Whatever went down, Bob showed up at the airfield looking like a possum at a garden party. Them city slicker instructors, they near about had a conniption. The textbook said yaw, Bob heard yaw. When they talked about lift, he thought they meant the ride to town. But you gotta give Bob credit, he was persistent. He may have flunked his written exams more times than a cheap lighter, but he could make that simulator dance. He'd be spitting chaw into an empty Mountain Dew bottle, whistling Dixie, and somehow landing that thing smoother than a squirrel in a pecan pie. First flight follies, Captain Hilljack takes off, and almost doesn't. After the most unorthodox training in aviation history, Bob, now christened Captain Hilljack by his skeptical colleagues, found himself at the helm of a passenger jet. Now, I ain't talking no puddle jumper neither. This was a full-blown jumbo jet flying machine. His co-pilot, a nervous fella named Ted, who looked like he'd swallowed a whole lemon, kept eyeing Bob like he was about to hotwire the plane with a coat hanger. First thing Bob does, he props open the cockpit window. Can't have none of that recycled air, Teddy boy, he says. A man needs his fresh oxygen. Then he pulls out a giant Tupperware container of what smelled like a week-old fish fry and announces, first one to reach cruising altitude gets a gizzard. Fasten your seatbelts, it's a Hilljack ride turbulence and other mishaps. Now you ever been on a roller coaster designed by a squirrel on caffeine? That's what flying with Hilljack was like. He'd hit a little turbulence, yell yeehaw, ride 'em cowboy, and bank that plane like he was dodging a tree in a tornado. Passengers were spilling drinks, losing their lunches, and making peace with their maker all in the span of 5 minutes. Then there was the time he mistook the fasten seatbelt sign for a disco ball. He cranked up the intercom, blasted some banjo music, and announced, it's hoedown time, folks, let's see them buckles shine. Let's just say the FAA wasn't too thrilled about that little incident. This is your captain speaking, y'all. Passenger panic and crew confusion. You see, Hilljack, he figured flying a plane was just like driving his pickup truck, only higher up. He'd get on the intercom with his drawl thicker than molasses in January and say things like, hold on tight, folks, we're fixing to fly over my cousin Cletus's double wide. He just got him one of them inflatable pool toys shaped like a, well, you'll see. The flight attendants, bless their hearts, they were constantly having to translate Hilljack's backwoods slang for the horrified passengers. No, sir, he doesn't mean we're landing on a dirt road. He's talking about the runway.